Hi, I'm Adam Marcus, the director and one of the story writers of Jason Goes to Hell, Final Friday.
And I'm Dean Laurie. I'm one of the screenwriters.
We've been friends since college, went to NYU together, and this was the first feature we got to make together.
We were pretty young.
Yeah.
We were probably
23 and 24 when we shot.
Yeah.
So that first piece where the New Line symbol comes up, that's actually the first time they'd ever put music to the logo. Mike DeLuca, who was our executive on this picture, him and Mark Ordesky, they wanted a kind of a sound that would open horror movies for them.
I wasn't really there for the inception of the concept of this movie.
Right.
I had in my head, I wanted to do Jason Takes L.A.
Right.
That was the movie that I was interested in making.
With gangbangers.
Yeah,
things like that,
what I wanted to do was basically that you see two gangs in the middle of gang warfare. They're going at each other, and then in the middle of that, Jason shows up and just starts slaughtering everybody. And so then these gangs that hate each other have to team up, to take out Jason. So that was sort of like initially what I was thinking. But then this whole body hopping, concept came into it. But the notion was to try to do something new, and it certainly was new.
Look, I mean, think about it. For 8 movies, he's been killed everywhere there is to kill something, and he keeps coming back. But nobody talks about the mystical side of this thing, this being. I think we got to do something that that very few people ever get to do, which is be creative with characters that they've grown up with and fallen in love with. And while Jason is not exactly the most lovable character, he is fun to hang out with. And, as far as the question of violence and the question of responsibility about these movies, I'm sorry, people who go to see a Jason movie, they know what they're getting. They're going for that experience. I mean, I was a kid and I watched these movies, and it doesn't affect you badly. They're fun, they're silly, they're over the top, and quite honestly, for the most part, they're cautionary tales, because it is about don't have premarital sex, don't drink, don't do drugs, because the boogeyman will come and get you. So I think there is a certain kind of nightmarish bedtime story quality about these films, and maybe I'm just trying to justify the fact that we slaughtered people in really hideous ways. So I just think we're lucky fans. I think we got to do something really cool, and it helped our careers. It gave us a jumping off place, which was terrific and well appreciated by us. Okay, so this is Julie Michaels in this scene, who's terrific, great lady, and an amazing stunt woman. We cast a stunt woman in the part. Mostly because everything she does in this scene is action. It's all action. She's got a few lines, and she did a really good job with the acting part of it, which was terrific. She's also in Roadhouse. She's like all naked in Roadhouse. That's one of her claims to fame. But she's awesome. She gets the light on. And if you notice, her hat is up now, which is a terrible piece of continuity. And we all tried to convince ourselves that was okay.
It actually was okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh, here's a nice cut. Here's a nice edit. And close, open. Oh, and there's the mirror gag that's in every one of these movies.
Yeah.
So this scene we had, this was sort of the first unnecessary nudity scene in the movie, or necessary.
We were told, wasn't there some sort of a formula that we were supposed to follow?
Yeah, it was.
In terms of, death and nudity?
Yes, every 7 minutes, a fresh pair of breasts, and every 7 minutes, a violent death.
Yeah, that's what we were given.
The code.
As the rule
from the Sean Cunningham School of Filmmaking. That was the code. And she's lovely. I mean, this was great. Actually, I preferred all this stuff where we were sort of teasing the audience. I thought this was more fun, and the audience just went nuts over this stuff. Plus, she's got really bad hair extensions. Check out the hair extensions. That was from the last picture she was on, and she came on set, and they were just fried. And but keep them in. Oh. Now this towel is held on with Velcro from this point forward. By the way, she just put a gun in between her breasts there under the towel.
Were we supposed to be able to see that?
Really, not really, but it was so that we could legitimately say later when she's got the gun, that we had a moment where she actually put the gun in there.
You mean when this is being looked at by film historians, we'll be able to justify it. Okay. I remember when this film came out, we were like, people are either going to really love this movie or really hate it, and that's in fact exactly what happened.
Yeah.
People
People
there
were
were people
split,
who were
really split.
really big fans of the movie because they sort of appreciated that we were trying to do something a little different with the franchise, because our feeling was that there had been a lot of movies, and we thought we'll try a different tact and see if people like it, and a lot of people did, and a lot of people really hated it, and
Well, and I remember Sean, his only mandate to us originally was, get that damn hockey mask out of the movie. Because that's really, that was an invention of Steve Miner's in Part 3. That
Right.
wasn't really in Part 1. I mean, Jason was barely in Part 1. By the way, she's just running in a circle, in a constant
yeah,
circle.
I remember thinking that was really cool. You just put the camera on sticks and spun
And
it
spin
around,
it.
and she just ran in a circle around the camera, but it sort of looks like she's running in a straight line for a long time.
Now, by this point, her feet are cut to ribbons, but none of us knew it. And she finally showed me her feet. I was saying, can you do one more take? She's like, oh, no problem. And I noticed there's blood all over the ground, all over her feet. And the woman's feet had been torn to pieces. And she's sitting there with a smile on her face. So I picked her up and lifted her off the ground and walked her off set. And she was done for the night at that point, because we did this over a 2-night shoot. Okay, now, here's a cool thing. More squibs on Kane Hodder in this scene than any other actor in history. This is the most squibs ever put on a human body.
So this is like the same group of 4 guys.
Over and over again. And actually,
Shot about 100 times.
if you turn off our commentary, you will hear Dean and I doing all of the voices
Oh,
of
that's right.
every one of
yeah,
these
we
guys.
did do all that.
The guy who plays the commander there is a guy named Jimmy Gleason, who's
Yeah.
such a good actor. Really terrific guy. Love that shot. That's a great shot.
Now, where they got this nuke, I don't know, but
The trick here, the fun we wanted to play with the audience is, oh, there's Dean's voice right there. Yes!
yeah.
We wanted to raise the stakes so much in this first sequence that you don't know what's going to come next. I mean, that this was the opening of the picture. We just blew up, really, the hero of these movies.
There's
Creighton Duke.
Creighton Duke.
Stephen Williams. Best line.
He used to
Here
be
we go.
Anderson Duke. I remember we couldn't clear that. So he ended up Creighton Duke.
Yep.
Good work, Agent.
Oh, she's Agent Marcus, by the way, which...
Good shooting, Mahoney.
and Mahoney was the first AD.
Huh?
Was Sam Mahoney. So he's talking to the first AD off camera. And, the evil, beating, mesmerizing heart. We had so many rules in this movie.
We'll probably get to that when we get to that jail scene with the rules. It truly got ridiculous because, the script went through so many permutations. This started out as a story that Adam wrote, and the Federal Morgue in Youngstown, Ohio, was the outside the lunchroom, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. That's the lunchroom. That is the lunch. Oh, and by the way, that is Jason Voorhees right there. That's Kane Hodder with his beard there. And this is the guy we called Elvis standing next to him. And
This is Richard Gant. He's a truly nice guy.
Oh, amazing guy. Such a sweet and such a terrific character actor.
He works all the time.
Kane really wanted to be a human character in the film as well, so we created this to so that he would have a character in the film. We could see Kane Hodder as an actor.
Right.
So you were talking about the script.
You wrote the story, and another writer did a couple of passes on the script.
Yeah.
And I had nothing to do with the project at all at this point. I was working on something else for Sean, and the script turned out, I don't know, for whatever reason, people were sort of dissatisfied.
Yeah, it wasn't
And Sean told me, the script came in on a Thursday, and Sean told me, by Monday, you have to rewrite the script. And he said he would sit in the office and witness me do it, to basically give support, although I think in retrospect he just wanted to make sure I actually did it. And he sat there over the weekend. I rewrote this script, and the two the two main things that I put into it, I think, at that point, because it was already about body jumping and all of that stuff, and I put in Jason wasn't part of the movie at that point, so I put Jason. It was about his brother Elias.
Yes, Elias Voorhees.
Very different.
The evil twin brother.
That's right, and also the character of Creighton Duke, I think, came into the script at that point.
Yes, it did.
And then we got a green light from New Line to shoot the movie, and then Les Boehm did terrific writer. He wrote Daylight and some other movies. He did a pass through it and did a good job. And then
and requested the last title of the film. Les Boehm, executive typist, is the last credit on the entire picture.
Oh, you want to talk about how you got this job to direct this movie?
Sure, actually. What had happened was I came out to California with a script that Dean had written.
Well, you'd known Sean for a long time.
I'd known Sean from the first Friday the 13th, and Noel and I had been close friends since we were 6. So I'd grown up with Sean. Sean was sort of a creative father to me, and anyway, Sean had seen a lot of theater work that I had done and gotten very impressed with that and involved in it and put money into productions that we were doing and so on. And once I had finished college, he saw student film that I had shot that actually Dean was the first AD on.
Yes.
And so we made this film, and my brother had written the film. It was sort of a family affair. And so I came out to LA with a script that Dean had written, a terrific script called Johnny Zombie. And Sean ended up buying that script. I got the job because I brought this picture in that Dean had written that was tremendous, and Dean ended up becoming a staff writer for Sean, and the picture ended up being a Disney film, kind of a bigger budgeted movie. And as a thank you, Sean moved me into the director's chair for my first feature.
And for the previous movie you did for Sean, weren't you a PA?
I was.
So you're like you went from
PA
from being a production
to
assistant to directing a movie.
Yep. And the truth is, for Sean to have believed in a couple of 20-somethings to make this movie, for him to put that much faith in us was really monumental. And also for New Line to put that faith in us. We got so much support from Mike DeLuca and from Mark Ordesky.
Yeah, they were good guys.
And Bob Shea. I mean, these guys, they get how to make movies. They were into making this movie. I should just say that when I was a kid, when I was 11, I got my first job, really, in films in the first Friday the 13th, on the set of the first Friday for Sean Cunningham, and I was one of his son's best friends, Noel, who was one of the editors on this picture.
Yeah,
terrific guy.
We all lived together too.
We did. We all lived together.
We all shared an apartment in Venice.
It was
along with half the actors in this movie. We basically had virtually everybody living on our floor while we were doing this.
So you can imagine how fun it was that, we were living together, working together. We had one car between us that we all drove in.
Yeah, we were all broke, too.
We were all broke. And
everybody on this movie made more than we did.
Exactly.
we were all completely broke, and just, frankly, I was thankful for the craft service, which is the only time I showed up on set.
It's true. Actually, at lunch, every day we knew Dean would be there.
Yeah.
Every single day. It's really true. Must be lunch. Dean just showed up.
Yeah, that's how you know.
This was actually the first battle we had with the MPAA about the picture, was how grotesque this scene ended up. We battled them a lot, and, their favorite phrase is cumulative effect.
Yeah.
The cumulative effect of Reel 5 is too intense. And so you start chopping it up, and we did lose stuff that we loved.
Now, this is tough acting. Look at this. This guy, Richard Gant, has to sell something which is basically impossible. That
this big, ugly black heart
is appetizing, and that
and hypnotizing.
Like, a really terrific idea right now would be to take a bite out of it.
I think he was allowed to take only a certain number of bites of the heart.
Yeah.
Because I think the third bite was considered obscene. The heart is actually made of a gelatin substance, and we put, again from the craft service table, fruit cocktail mixed with black dye in the inside of it, so it would be all pulpy and disgusting. So he's gonna bite
I like how he does that last little kind of like, all right, why not?
Okay, so these couple of bites were fine, and then we had to cut. He was about to throw up here, by the way, because it was so disgusting. But look at him. He's just he's tearing in. Oh, you know what? This is the director's cut. So
is this
there's
the
a lot
cut?
more chomping here, because in the theatrical cut, you couldn't see any of this. And here it comes regurgitating. Here's Fruit Cup. Black Fruit Cup. Oh, nice. Nice. There she blows.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, it's all going to go bad. Now, there's a great subtle effect that's happening here. His throat
There's
is
a
bulging.
subtle effect?
There is. His
Oh,
throat is
all right.
bulging during this because the evil is sort of gestating in his throat.
Oh,
See his
yeah.
throat bulging?
Yeah.
It's a great effect.
Wasn't there something about you had light bulbs?
We had
going
light
off?
bulbs. There's
Oh, that was
actually
it,
light
under
bulbs
that
in his
thing.
shirt
Yeah.
so that the kind of magic demons would find their way into his shirt so that the artist would know where the demons should land.
I have no idea what those demons are. But...
We don't know either.
Hey, that's me.
And there he is. There's Dean Laurie.
That's me.
You just saw me come out of there. ID, please.
New Line had a great idea with this film, which was once they realized the level of violence we were going to deliver, they started to talk to us very early about a director's cut of the film. And right at that point was sort of the advent of the popularity of Laserdisc technology. And so the feeling was, let's do an unrated cut and let's do a rated cut.
Yeah.
And then people can pick and choose. And the truth is, I mean, almost nobody bought that unrated.
Well,
I mean, the rated cut. It was really the unrated.
I remember
That's
we
all.
were really encouraged to make as gory a version of the
Yes.
picture as we could, with the understanding that we could always cut it down.
Right.
But
And actually, all around the world, except for America, the only cut you can get is the unrated cut. That every other country bought the unrated cut and wanted all that stuff. And again, the funniest part about the MPAA and the funniest part, I mean, and the MPAA is a very necessary thing because they do watchdog for children. And I mean, but quite honestly, this movie is an R. It's a hard R, and children shouldn't be seeing it. I mean, yeah, 15-year-old kid who gets to watch it late at night on HBO or something, that's fine, and that's the fun of the movie. But it is made for older audiences. It's not made for children, and that's what the R is there for. I think you die well in this. I really do. I think you have I love that, and I love the shot of your feet. Oh, you got to have the
that's a
shot of
good
the
shot.
feet, the ubiquitous shot of the feet.
This always bothered me that I never, like when in that shot where he held me up, that I never put my hands out. Actually, I thought the R-rated cut was a scarier cut
Yes.
than the NC-17 cut because more was left to your imagination.
By not showing stuff, by not showing the face of fear, it makes it scarier.
You kind of, got a little desensitized
Yeah.
towards some of the goriness in the movie just because there was so much goriness.
Yeah.
In a way, I actually thought the R-rated cut
Is more frightening. Here comes sort of a fun bit that Jason has killed Jason.
Yeah.
That Kane Hodder is dead and at the hands of Jason. We thought that was sort of poetic.
2 security men. Dead. A coroner.
Okay, now where did they get that shot of the coroner? That's what I want to know.
It was...
It's like this close-up shot of the coroner.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yes. I'm Robert Campbell.
Now, this was before there were a million of these shows, actually.
Yeah.
There were only a couple of these shows. There was A Current Affair, which
Yeah.
was really what we were making fun of, and this is Stephen Culp, who is...
He's great. And
he's an amazing
He,
actor.
he's now, like, kind of big-time guy.
Oh,
He
yeah.
did,
Well,
he
he
was
was in 13
Days.
James and the Giant Peach. He played James's father.
That's right, he did.
He's a tremendous actor. He actually was in Angels in America in San Francisco for several years, and he's just a brilliant guy. But he actually had told us when we first auditioned him, we all thought he was Robert Culp's son. Because he kind of has Robert Culp's forehead.
Yeah.
So nobody wanted to ask him because we didn't want to come off as crass. And he then revealed to us that Robert Culp has 2 sons who are actors who find it very hard to find work. And he always gets hired because he looks more like Robert Culp,
Now, we're here at the Creighton Duke compound, right?
which is actually right behind the warehouse. that
which
we
is
shot.
behind the warehouse we were shooting in. And I remember Sean being very proud of that. Being like-
actually-
because
that's-
we said it's something in the movie. It's like, we're in deepest Bolivia or something like that.
That's where they shot the Wonder Years, right there.
Really?
Wonder Years. That was the Wonder Years.
Just watch. I'm going to say 2 words to you, Mr. Duke, and I want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay?
Okay.
You ready?
Shoot.
Jason Voorhees.
Well, that makes me think of...
Stephen Culp is so good at playing the straight man in this scene. He finds so much humor
Yeah.
in this material. And it's funny because when it was written, when Dean had written these pages, when we would read
It was
through
meant
it,
to have humor.
Huh?
It was
Oh
meant to have
yeah,
humor.
that's what I'm saying. It's like we would go through it and we knew it was funny, but we didn't know if we could get actors to really make it sing. And these 2 guys were so good at this. Now, this is when Stephen Williams becomes Quint from Jaws.
Yo, that's right. The mask, the machete, the
The whole damn thing. And of course, he's playing with what will become the magic dagger.
Yeah, as I'm... Did he... is he giving us a ton of exposition here or no?
Yeah, he's talking about how there's a skin that Jason is not the skin that he walks around in.
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah.
you know that's just a suit he wears. That's just
right.
a suit.
Yeah, this is the beginning of truly endless exposition and
There's more rules
and
in this
rules.
movie. Well, basically, most Friday the 13th films, the rule is simply this: have sex, do drugs, die.
Yeah.
Horrible deaths. Dean and I thought of Jason as Hell's assassin. That
Yeah.
was sort of our take on Jason.
Our take was that Jason was Hell's assassin in the real world, and Freddy was Hell's assassin in the dream world.
Right.
And that was how we sort of justified it in our head.
And that's why we came up with the bounty hunter. I mean, the whole
Yeah.
idea was like, here's this sort of assassin-like character in the real world who has to come and get these guys.
I loved Creighton Duke.
I love
I
it.
was like, I was in love with that character. I would have been very happy to tell the story of Creighton Duke and Jason.
That would have been fine.
That would have been a
would've
fine movie to
fine.
me.
Proof of Jason's existence, and then puts an end to him for all time. We'll be back with American Case File in a moment.
Now we're going to the diner and to Aaron Gray.
Now Aaron Gray, we were
Aaron
both
Gray.
so excited to meet
Oh, my
Aaron Gray
God.
because Buck Rogers was they basically dragged
So
us
in
through
love with
puberty.
her. We were so in love with her.
Yeah, and she was so cool.
And Allison Smith, who was the second Annie on Broadway.
Yeah.
In the original Annie on Broadway, so Erin actually brought us. I remember she brought me Starfighter wings.
Oh, there's Adam Cranner.
Adam Cranner, my childhood friend. I've known Adam Cranner since I was 13.
who was living on our couch, I
Yep,
think,
he
for a
was
period of
sleeping on
time.
the couch.
And then he was the
He was set security at night.
in addition to being the actor, he was set security. He lived on the set.
Okay, so this woman here, Rusty Schwimmer, and the gentleman Leslie Jordan, the two of them actually, Rusty came in to play the part that Leslie's playing. Originally, it was reversed, and we were out of actors to play opposite women for that role. So Rusty said, "I'll stick around and help you guys out and read for you." And she read the male role, which was Joey B.
Right.
And she was so amazing that we decided, you know what? Let's have Joey B be the woman, and she owns the diner, and her husband is the cook.
Yeah.
So that's how that ended up happening.
You know he's not. I know he's not. And he's coming for you.
Your food will be right out.
Name your price. Everyone has a price. What's yours?
What do you want?
You know what I want. And you know why I need you.
Why do you
Oh,
need to leave?
Billy Greenbush
Billy
coming up slow.
Well, everything about Billy's a little slow. And,
Billy, of course, from Five Easy Pieces. He's a remarkable actor, actually. But Billy Billy
oh,
was...
and I just noticed they're from Cunningham County.
Cunningham
Is that what
County.
it says on the thing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember there was some review.
Oh, there we go. Oh, a lot of machismo.
That's my lady you're talking about. Well, now, see, she is only your lady because she ain't had a taste of the Duke yet.
Oh, that's a great line. That's a great moment. She hadn't had a taste of the Duke. That's my brother in the background.
Oh,
there,
yes, there's Kip
ready to
Mark.
pull his gun.
Now, let's talk about Kip for a second.
Oh, I think we should.
Now, Kip was another guy who lived in our apartment.
He slept on my bed. I slept on the floor.
Yeah, and here's what I got to wake up to every morning. I'd be asleep in my room, and I'd hear Kip out in the living room going, wah, 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 wah. And he was doing these actor exercises that I guess he learned in some class somewhere that apparently, I guess, improved his performance in some way. That's why he did them every damn morning.
I
but-
love that he's at least about 8 inches shorter than Stephen Williams, trying to push him out the door to the squad car.
Originally, wasn't that role supposed to be, like a big buff guy?
Yes.
And
Kip was Kip was
I mean, God love him. He's many things, but he's not a big, brutal bear of a man.
Kip is actually he's such a good actor. He's so tremendous. He was actually we considered him for the lead of the picture, and Sean wouldn't let us use him. Why is still a mystery to me. But he did a terrific job, and he ended up playing Randy. And him and John got along really well. They had a good chemistry
There's
together.
John LeMay.
John LeMay,
Very nice guy. He was.
you remember him from the Friday 13th series, the series. So he was kind of honored. And
Oh no! Wait, and
psyched to be
this is a reshoot, right? Are we going into camper
We're
scene?
we're going into reshoots. This is all
All right.
reshoots. This
So-
was all shot 6 months after we finished the film.
So here's what happened. We finished shooting the movie, then we cut it together, we screened it, and there was a bunch of stuff we didn't like.
Yeah.
So we cut that stuff out and then said, all right, what do we have left?
Well, and I think New Line had suggested, can we please have a scene with campers?
Well,
and
that was another thing. We tested the movie, and we knew we were going to shoot some additional stuff. And the thing we heard most prevalently was, you don't have any naked campers that get killed, which everybody really I felt was lacking. So, so then we specifically wrote this scene basically to kill a bunch of naked campers.
Right, and we had fallen out of it. We hadn't had any fresh breasts in about 14 minutes, so they were very concerned. We needed
in a lot of trouble with
breasts.
Sean.
We had to pick up the pace on the breasts. Now, interestingly, these three actors were all cast separately from each other. Michelle Clooney in the back and Mike Silver in the back. The two of them got cast separate of each other, did not know that they were in the movie. They show up, and of course they have to do this kind of big love scene later. The two of them a year earlier had broken up. They had been together for years in real life, and it was great because the chemistry between them was phenomenal. And that's Catherine Atwood, who is just so sweet. These actors were so terrific and so up for anything.
Yeah.
I remember Mike Silver really, really wanted to be naked in this movie.
Did he?
Oh, he loved being naked. It was hilarious. All the men in the movie were like ready to drop trow at a drop of a dime. The women were a tougher story, but the men wanted to be naked. They were loving the nudity. We actually started coming up with a term on the set, which was you can have pickle in the frame, but you can't have angry pickle.
Yeah, you can't.
No angry pickle, because that immediately gives you the NC-17, so none of that.
Go on, have fun.
This is such a sweet scene. I really think Catherine did such a beautiful job here.
Yeah.
She's, and there's this rejection here, and it's kind of crushing. She's such a sweet girl, and, John should have just gone for it. It's really,
Well,
I think, a character flaw.
Truthfully, this was a problem because I remember the audience just hated him.
For that.
Because, she's really attractive. She's coming on to him in a big way. And
you know she's going to get naked.
Yeah, and he blows her off. And I remember thinking, oh, jeez. I was pissed at him.
Yeah.
And we made him do it.
Well, I think he was pissed at us for making him do it.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. I think he was like, wow, I could have been with the naked girls at the thing. Give me a break.
Wasn't it really cold?
It was freezing. We shot this in February.
Yeah.
And again, these actors were such troopers. And actually, I really feel for Michael Silver because, he had to get naked here and it's freezing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough on a guy.
It really is. It really is. But he's so impressive, it really didn't make much of a difference.
You want to have heat lamps aimed at you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want everything possible.
And again, this is the two of them.
Shrivel my pod. Now, that came from my enormous love of Lonesome Dove when Gus McCrae talks about his pod getting shriveled. And it had absolutely no place in this movie, but I just like Lonesome Dove a lot.
We used to have Lonesome Dove, during the shooting of this, we'd have Lonesome Dove parties and watch all 8 hours.
Yeah.
And make chili.
That's right. We'd make chili.
And
drink,
watch Lonesome Dove.
Drink a lot of Southern Comfort.
That's right. So the murders in this scene were designed to be almost sacrificial lambs. We knew that they were going to be extreme.
Gory deaths in and of themselves are not particularly scary.
No,
What's
they're not scary at all.
Are the moments leading up to the
Right.
gory death. By the time you get to the gore, the scare's done. At that point, you're just going, "Oh my god, that's so gory."
It's just repulsive.
Yeah, but so we sort of felt like in terms of being scary that.
Off-screen is always more frightening than on-screen because your head starts to imagine, oh my God, what just happened there? What could they have done?
And that's why in some ways the R-rated cut was a little scarier because, a lot of the deaths happened off-screen, whereas in the unrated cut, you see all that stuff,
Yeah.
or at least a lot of it.
Yeah, and not that we don't like the unrated cut.
Oh, I love the unrated cut.
We are gorehounds to some
Sure.
degree, but by design, even if you watch the unrated cut, there are effects that happen off screen. Mike Silver's head gets crushed, and there's just a sound effect. It's just that melon popping sound.
Yeah.
And for me, that's far more hideous than what we could show. Look, also, this is the first Jason movie where Jason's mask, at some point in the movie, doesn't get ripped off his head.
Yeah.
And part of the reasoning was the MPAA was going to come down hard on this film. We all knew they were, and it's interesting because the problems we had with the MPAA on this film, I think they actually ended up making the violence more graphic and more upsetting by cutting stuff. The way we shot it initially, it was almost cartoonish. It was so big and so fun and over the top. And again, people who come to see a Friday the 13th movie, they're not mistaken that they've walked into a Jane Austen picture.
Yeah.
They know what they're seeing. Of course, we've got the kind of distasteful thing of having everybody pee in this scene. That was,
Jesus Christ, I forgot about that.
that was Sean's solution, actually.
You know what?
I don't think either of us can actually take credit for the
Actually,
peeing.
I remember Sean. he choreographed the
peeing?
the peeing,
Yes,
and
he
the camera
did.
work, because I remember. I think we'll get to it in just a minute. It's like, isn't it like the world's quickest pee?
It is.
think
And we were all on set asking, why are they peeing so quickly?
I don't know that there was ever an answer.
There wasn't. Sean would never provide an answer for something like that.
I wish he was here to defend himself.
I really do too. So this particular scene, this is I think really the most graphic death in the movie.
Yeah,
I think it's the most
By a
graphic
lot.
death in any
I think so too.
in any Jason movie. And how many kills were up to this point? 89, 90, somewhere in there in the series of films. And so we were really thinking, how do we top this? And Bob Kurtzman of K&B, who was the second unit director on the picture.
That was all shot on stage, all the interior.
Yes, all the interior, and then these are matched to exteriors. A couple days earlier, we shot these scenes, but
She's going to pee too, right?
oh yeah,
Everybody's got to pee in this
and she's
movie.
going to pee in exactly the same spot. That was sort of, I think Sean saw that as irony.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this death that comes up was by far the most violent death in the movie, and we had to make an exact copy of Michelle, 2 copies in fact, and you don't know what an actor has to go through until you've had to watch them covered in alginate by 5 swarthy effects guys, and you're naked. That's really the life of an actor. I think people really don't know how difficult it actually is. Now, the bodies, we made 2 copies of Michelle. One that the spike would come through her chest, and the other one where she would split in the middle. And the K&B guys wanted to take the 2 bodies and make speaker stands out of the bodies. Do you remember
true?
that? Yeah. Bob Kurtzman and Howard Berger.
Here.
Oh, that's why she's dead.
This is why they died, because they don't use protection.
And in fact,
That was the thinking there, was that, well, they didn't use a condom, so I guess it's okay to
kill them. Well,
Kill
it's
them.
unsafe sex. Unsafe sex equals death. We didn't want to say sex equals death. We wanted to say unsafe sex equals death. And in fact, the Wall Street Journal called Jason Goes to Hell the return to morality for horror films
Really?
because of this scene. Because we decided to have them throw away the condom.
Well,
That's special, isn't it? I think that's the nicest thing anyone ever said about this movie in print.
that's clearly the best review it ever got.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's, how fun it is to be really young and do your first movie and then just get pummeled publicly by the
We
reviewers.
were on the ropes for months.
Holy God.
And then the video came out and everybody re-reviewed it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
This scene goes on for forever, and in fact, both of these kids are naked in the scene, and there were certain shots where we were getting calls from the editor back who was cutting this footage as we were shooting, who kept going, guys, you really want me to I can't use this. I got the whole fruit basket on this shot. So there were a lot of sacrificed moments here. And as you'll see in a moment, she's going to come and go at the exact moment. I will say, I think this is, without a doubt, the movie that has the most male nudity in the film, too, because really...
That's your thing, Adam.
Hey, listen, buddy. Listen, but I know, I saw you watching Mike Silver's Tushy.
All right, man.
But the truth is, think about it. I mean, there are young women who go to these movies. Come on, you got to have something for the ladies.
Something for the ladies.
And there she goes! Oh, my God!
Oh,
That's just wrong!
Oh,
there's
jeez.
nothing right... Now, wait, listen. There's a melon that just got crushed. That was the sound effect that we used for his skull.
you make these movies before you have children, and then,
Then you go, how did I put this into the
You'll watch
world?
them later, and you go, holy God.
Oh, now this entire diner set here was a car dealership that we converted into a diner. There was nothing here. There were no kitchens, no nothing.
Yeah.
And the art department did a beautiful job on kind of creating this kitchen and diner set out of this car dealership in where is it? In Thousand Oaks, I think. This is the kind of stuff that really horror movies are about. It's the scenes where somebody's walking around in the dark, doing something completely unnecessary, and nothing happens. You just kind of allow the tension to sort of happen here. And she's actually going to feed Sean, Noel, and Jessica's dog, Tango, in this scene. And you hear the dog. There he is in the background. So this was the family dog, because we didn't want to hire a dog. So we got
because everything was free.
everything.
That's why it was my car and their dog. And what was the budget for this movie? It was like $3 million.
I think it was 2.5. There was like a rights payment, but I think it was about 2.5. And you know what? Sean is actually quite a remarkable producer in that he got us a lot of days to shoot this film.
That's true.
We had, I think, in total 37 days, including reshoots. And that's a lot of days for one of these movies. I mean, that's a lot of time, especially on the low budget we had. And here comes a moment that Sean was like, film school, where we're inside the ice machine.
Oh, this shot?
I'm very proud of this shot. The moon in the background, I think, is just beautiful.
Yes.
The lighting on her is Erin is really such a terrific woman and a great actress, and she never gets a chance to kind of do the kind of work that she's capable of, and we really allowed her to have some kind of cool moments in this. And there's Andy Block, who's a wonderful actor and actually a wonderful teacher too. He teaches acting as well, and he's really terrific. And here was one of these kind of sensitive. We wanted to give these characters a little more life than some of the other films had done. I mean, some of the Friday the 13th films that Paramount released were terrific movies, but we wanted to kind of create some connections with characters and like these people before we slaughtered them. And actually, Sean...
Oh, that's Diana Georgia.
There's Diana Georgia, who was the assistant casting director on the film.
You're not here. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late.
What's the big
And she's terrific. Because we basically said we wanted her to look as awful as she could look in this scene. And she's playing much older than she is in this scene. She was really young. She was a kid when she did this. And she was so up for it. So
this is that head crunch.
This is the head
crunch.
crunch.
I forgot about this.
All that is a piece of foam. They didn't even make a head. There was no head for that. It was just put the foam in a wig and crunch it in the door, and it gets one of the best reactions. Here's the most perverse scene of the film.
How do you gotta feel if you're this poor guy?
This is the Fellini scene of Friday the 13th movie.
Now here's the thing that I never understood. Why?
Why shave him?
Yeah, so he's Jason, who never has shown like an interest in grooming up until this point.
The mustache tickles him.
And so now he decides, well,
and also, why is he naked? Why is he naked? There's no reason. We just wanted to make everybody feel uncomfortable. This was just to creep everybody out.
I don't know why he was naked. I don't think... Did I write him as naked?
No, you didn't. I got a lot of flack for shooting this scene.
Because, frankly, I think I recall... Because it must have been around lunch that you shot this. Because I recall showing up and seeing this poor guy naked, strapped to a table. And I was like, Adam, what the hell movie are you making here?
I think Sean was out of town, actually, when we shot this.
Yeah, there must have been no adults minding the candy store when this scene was shot.
None whatsoever. But it is a great scene, and it's creepy, and the audience just reacted so great to this stuff.
Yeah.
Because you never expected to see this in a Friday the 13th movie. And actually, I think that's kind of nice. It's a little more subtle than other stuff in the film. Is just this kind of weird kiss, and you're wondering what the hell.
Virtually anything is a little bit more subtle than some of the stuff in the movie. Initially, the way this was shot, Aaron Gray answers the phone, and it's Billy Greenbush, the sheriff. And there was initially a romance between the two of them, and he was proposing to her. Yeah. And all this dialogue that Aaron Gray has relates to Billy Greenbush proposing and saying, let's get married, and she being very excited about that. And,
very happy
honey,
scene.
That's wonderful, that's great. And for a couple of
6
reasons,
months later,
we decided to change that. One, because it didn't seem real credible, this romance between her and Billy Greenbush.
No, it just wasn't working.
Wasn't really making a whole lot of sense. And also, we felt like we had to introduce Carrie Keegan earlier into the movie.
And the baby.
So we wrote Carrie Keegan's side of this to fit into the responses that Aaron Gray had already filmed to Billy Greenbush.
So 6 months later, the response was shot.
I love you, Mom.
So, and also that got the police there.
Yeah,
that phone call that got the cops there. So that worked out pretty well.
Mom?
And here comes one of the fun kind of mirror gags in the film that we were real happy with the way this came out.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a nice cutting pattern, and I think it created some tension there, and the performance here is terrific. I think both of them are really good in this scene. It's a kind of a scary scene. There's Brains right out of his head. And actually, the brains were the same fruit cocktail mixture that we had used weeks before.
Could you please patch me through?
Now, why
now
she
here's
steps over him,
there's
I
no
don't
reason
know.
because there's lots of room on either side for her to go. But that has to happen in every Friday the 13th film. And notice his brains are still spilling out of his head in that shot. It's really disgusting. And again, Erin was so great about all this physical stuff and just being playful and going for it. And this is kind of creepy. So here's sort of the hidden aspect of the movie. This sort of creature that keeps crawling out of everybody's mouth.
We shot that effect twice, didn't we? Because it was initially not looking so good.
Well, and in fact, Diana Georgia had to be under him for one of those shots, and drool kept coming out of the tongue.
Oh.
And spilling all over the actor underneath him, which was really pretty heinous. And if you'll notice, the stuntman just stepped up on a block. If you rewind that, you'll see that that there's a little block there. And of course, the worst implement is the sharpener. So we figured that was the most painful looking, was the sharpener, not a knife. Knife's too easy. Sharpener. Oh, and now Jason is shocked to see himself. This is sort of a personal moment for Jason.
Existential.
Yes. This is the Nietzsche portion of the picture. We shot this, I think the second day into shooting, we actually shot this section, and it was definitely intimidating.
Because we were so new to this, every aspect of this was fun. So just like that little stunt, which really was not truly that big a stunt.
We thought we were shooting Die Hard.
It was very exciting.
It was like the coolest thing ever shot, ever.
Yeah.
Oh, and this was actually very funny because John, by accident, kept laying Erin down on the poker that's on in her back.
You know, we were talking earlier about like what a big deal it was for us to meet Erin Gray, who, you know, to us was really kind of a big hero. And when I first met her, I was just chatting with her, and I remember at some point she said, you know, my son's friends all called me a MILF. And I was like, What is a MILF? Because I'd never heard that. She said, a mother I'd like to fuck. And I said, oh my God.
It's totally
Erin
true.
Gray just said...
Erin Gray just said something sexual.
It couldn't have been more exciting.
That was awesome.
And she was like the only real star in the movie to us. And so, you know, we were both kind of like a little awed to see her.
And she's so beautiful.
She's so beautiful and
really
so
beautiful.
Nice and everything. And then she said that, and it was like... It just was like crushing reality of that. Oh my God, she's a person. She's not Erin Gray of Buck Rogers. So,
oh, and now here comes Kip.
We got a little Kip on the left hand side.
He's awesome in this scene. He's just having so much fun. He's doing sort of this Christopher Walken meets John Turturro kind of thing.
And just imagine that just a little earlier in the day he was going wah wah.
Come on.
To prepare for this scene.
And here, of course, is the sensitive, I'm cleaning your mother's death stain off your carpet before you get home. There's a 4-foot blood stain on that carpet.
Isn't there a fella you could call who'd take care of that?
There were actually some sequences in the film that are absolutely completely cut from the film. There's a section where Allison Smith has a boyfriend, and it's a full scene. It's a full 5 minutes that we cut out of the film, and quite honestly, for story reasons.
Yeah,
but there was a great gory death in it.
There was a death in it, but yeah.
She had the baby with her.
Right. It was when the baby was in her care. Jason showed up.
And kills her boyfriend,
boyfriend.
because he's so angry that the baby is no longer there.
Right.
Because he needs to be reborn through a Voorhees. But actually, Allison was in a slip. That was actually the saddest thing about losing that sequence. Allison's just terrific in this movie. She was one of the big pranksters on set. She was very funny.
What'd she do?
She was constantly, her and Rusty Schwimmer, the woman who plays Joey B, would make up these interpretive dances of their dialogue and perform these during lunch. And they were just so funny, so terrific.
Well, you know, it was funny. Like, as the writer, I would wander into the art department and I would see my future wife and the other people in the art department making fun of all the dialogue. They would sit in there and do like little impromptu performances of the dialogue just to goof on it.
Actually, here's kind of an interesting story. Whenever you're listening to the dialogue track of this film, you'll notice that a lot of the women suddenly sound very similar in certain ADR moments.
Right.
That's because my wife, Deborah, actually did the ADR for almost every woman in the picture.
Oh, did she?
Yes, she did. She is every female scream. She's all the female breathing. She did all of that. Okay, now, this is a great story. That is... Harry James, Harry Monster, right there with the glasses. She was our script supervisor. She is in that moment reprising her role. This is a true thing. She's an actress as well from Die Hard.
Oh, that's right. She
plays
was
that
in Die Hard.
character
Yeah.
in Die Hard. The same character in that same costume. She's the woman that John McClane calls from the roof. And says, what am I ordering, a pizza? And she tells him to get off the line and use a non-secured line. So
What am I going to do? I'm not going to freaking sell.
Truthfully, our cast is an older cast in this movie.
Yes.
Most of the other Friday the 13th movies, the cast are teenagers. And in this movie, probably the youngest person in it is early 20s.
Yeah.
And
it's not campers. Actually, the
except for that
the
one
kids in
scene.
the woods.
Yeah,
they're the youngest people in the film.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, we've got characters that have lives and stories going on, and Jason interrupts those lives, and that was sort of part of the idea of the movie. And here's an interesting thing: the baby, because she was so young. In the first 3 weeks of shooting with her, she was silent, perfectly quiet, perfect baby to work with. And suddenly she crossed that threshold from 6 months into the rest of the first year.
Right.
And she started screaming all the time. First 3 weeks,
And you know
amazing.
what? Who could blame her? Because what this poor baby had to go through in this movie is horrible.
We felt so guilty constantly. And it's funny because, people would play with the effects around the baby.
Oh, this is the finger breaking
here we go.
scene.
Here we go. Best scene of the movie.
Now, this is the scene didn't we shoot an additional bit?
Yes.
Okay.
This was shot, the first 7 pages of the scene, it's a 7-page scene, was shot during the regular shoot. And then
Right.
we figured, you know what we need?
A few
we
more
need
rules.
More exposition.
That's right.
Let's get some more rules in this scene.
Let's throw in some rules about daggers and
This is what
Voorhees
they-
into a Voorhees.
This is what they classically called the Von Helsing scene.
Yeah.
And
That's
Stephen
right.
Williams...
We tried to take some of the sting out of it by making them pay for the exposition by breaking fingers, which maybe wasn't the most brilliant solution on the planet, but it's interesting.
And honestly, the audience was just totally with this scene. They got it, and it's the only scene in the movie where there is literally no effects employed.
Right.
It is just acting and those sounds, the finger snapping sounds. And in fact, the gentleman who did our sound work was this terrific guy named Phil. And Phil had an accident at some point in his life where he had lost 3 of his fingers. And in fact, when we would come into the sound stages, we would ask Sean, how's the sound going? And he would say, well, we're getting as much sound as 7 fingers can get us. So he became 7-Finger Phil. Well, the thing about Phil was we had these finger snaps.
This was
right?
all a reshoot. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so we had these finger snaps, and I kept asking to bring up the sound in the finger snaps. I was like, I want these to reverberate. I want them to be really horrible. And Phil kept saying, I think they should be subtle and quiet, little sounds. And I was like, man, it's a horror movie. It's a Friday the 13th film. Please bring up the sound. I want big sounds. He's like, I'm telling you, I think it should be small sound. I'm like, look, just put up the sound. He said, listen, I think I know what the sound of fingers snapping off is. Of course, he was expecting me to be guilted into going, okay, Phil. So, no, I went totally opposite direction. I said, oh, okay, that's really nice. That's lovely. Could you get the stumps out of my face and please put up the sound? So at the first screening of the film, the audience went nuts on every finger snap, and they were super loud. And at the end of the film, Phil came up to me and begrudgingly said, well, I guess it was good we put the sound up on those finger snaps. But the sound people, Yanya and Phil, who ran the post sound, it was actually called post sound, the house we used, were so amazing and just so brilliant in the way that they designed the sound on the picture. Actually, I think they did such an incredible job. And Phil was right 95% of the time about being subtle and finding interesting sounds to use. But this was one case where I really wanted the audience to squirm, and it worked. So actually, we're still in the regular shoot here.
Yeah.
We're still in the primary shoot. And in a second, you're going to see a major difference. Oh, you're going to see a major difference. Now, wait, watch. Oh, you know what was great about this scene, too? This was sort of our Oz scene. Because Steven and Dean and I had a conversation. We were talking about Steven wanted to make Creighton sort of ambiguous in his sexuality in this scene to make the audience
Creighton,
nervous.
Dude. This is a great
great character.
He's a complete psycho, who, by the way, came literally out of nowhere in the 8th sequel to this series, and he's a guy who we're saying has devoted his entire life to the hunting and killing of Jason Voorhees.
Tell me.
He's apparently been in a Dunkin' Donuts for most of it, because
later in the film, we'll talk about a monologue that was all of Creighton's backstory and why he's been chasing Jason, and how this monologue was so not in this movie. It was just, it could not find its place into this movie. But okay, now watch. Here it comes. We're gonna go from this is the primary shoot, and in a second you're gonna see it shift. And here it comes. Not yet. These rules were all from the original cut.
Born, and only by the hands of a Voorhees will he die. Jason had a sister.
And that's 6 months later. That is 6 months later. And Bill Dill did a beautiful job of matching it, but it's still 6 months later.
6 months later.
To kill him or make him reborn.
And he sells this stuff, man.
Well, this is pretty tough stuff to sell.
And it's 7 pages of rules, nothing but rules. And it plays.
He's still talking about.
What's he talking about?
I don't know. At this point, I'm getting popcorn. And then you gotta get a knife and take a.
Then get the magical keys and slay the dragon.
Slay the dragon in. Put in a light bulb counterclockwise.
Draw in a circle with chalk. Okay, and here comes Kip to the rescue. He's Andy of Mayberry. It's awesome.
Son of a bitch broke my finger. Jesus.
Let me take a look, okay? Here.
Oh, he's being sensitive. He's going to look at his friend's hand. What every Friday 13th needs, just a rube of a cop.
I remember we had a big discussion about, you're really not supposed to carry guns
into the prison area.
There's really no cop on the planet
but we figured
who would do this. But we thought, fuck it.
Well, it's just and our rationale, and of course, Kip,
did we have a rationale?
Kip is a classically trained actor. And he was looking for his motivation.
Well, you know what it was? His voice exercises really helped out this moment.
he wanted some motivation for this. So honestly, it was his best friend in pain. So he just rushed in with his gun, which actually made some sense.
Sure. In the Cliff Notes version of the movie.
Man, please. Don't do this. You escape and they shoot you on sight.
Now that the plot is advancing at a breakneck pace. I'm telling you, man. Woo! We're on the roller coaster ride now.
So I lose a bundle today. Screw it.
And this is kind of a clever, funny scene.
Don't pretend.
These actors, this was such a welcome sense of humor that the film had. I think you did such a beautiful job in writing these scenes, Dean. They're just funny as hell.
Oh, thank you.
What the fuck is that?
What the fuck is that about the baby?
I couldn't tell you.
I believe that's the sweetest thing God ever put on this earth. You little cutie pie.
It'll be just as cute when it's on the fucking street. Now get it out!
And Leslie Jordan does such a terrific job. Leslie is still upset with me because of his death in this picture.
Why?
We shoved him into a vat of root beer.
Oh,
and he was very upset about being shoved into this vat of root beer. I think he's still nursing some wounds.
He thought it wasn't a good death?
No, I think he just was really not into being into a vat of root beer.
Hey, it's Friday the 13th.
I know. It's like you sign on, baby. Okay. I
had a bunch of grief.
Rusty has one of the most violent deaths in the movie, where her jaw gets shoved into her throat.
I mean, even I had, for my death, I had to have that prosthetic put on my face.
By the way, okay, everybody in this film has guns.
Yeah, that's right.
This is like this quiet sleep.
You're waiting for the baby to pull a gun out of its diaper.
This is Joey B's Diner and Armory.
Yeah.
There's so many guns. So here's our solution to broken fingers. Steven just put some tape on him. And that's it. That's the end of the broken fingers.
Isn't that what you do, though? I mean, what else do you do?
But he has a fist fight with Jason with broken fingers and never acknowledges the fact that his fingers are broken.
Well, it's We
It just never
we should have put a
happens.
rule in. We should have gone back. But if it's noon,
If you are fighting a Voorhees, your broken fingers will mend.
that's right.
And this is a very caring moment we have here where the baby has
The
been put
baby's
into
in a Del Monte carton.
By the way, once again, the filmmakers were not parents at this point.
That's right.
This
We were
seemed
22.
perfectly
It seemed all right. You know,
Hey, that box looks comfortable, man. That's fine. That looks just
you put in
fine.
bedding the same way you do in a puppy. My God.
My baby. It's the first time I've ever been able to touch my baby.
We are so low on breasts and violence right now.
Well, you know, we fell way short of that quotient because
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, we
original cut of the movie, we only had really just that one, the shot at the opening.
Yes.
That was, I think, the only nudity in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Oh, and there were problems.
That jungle gym, by the way, was used in the movie The Birds. That's why we put a bird on the top of the jungle gym. That was from the Universal prop department. And here's a shot I had.
be for
Tremendous
archivists to
fights
talk
over.
about.
Here's a big fight that we had, Sean and I, over this shot.
Yes, I remember. This was film school.
Yes, that was film school. Film school shot, film school. And in the first screening of the film, the whole audience responded to that shot. And I guess we had just had an entire audience full of film students because they really liked that. So here's here's the shot with the ironing board.
Oh,
that,
Jesus.
that
This is,
opens the wrong
this is
way.
my favorite scene in the whole movie. This was, I think, a reshoot to add more spookiness.
Yes.
And
And I guess what's spooky is an ironing board going the wrong direction
here-
in a wall. That's too much.
now, what prompted us to think that was Did we do that?
No, Sean put that
Did he
in
shoot
there.
that?
Sean shot that. We had nothing to do with that. I will not take responsibility for that. Sam Raimi, who we had gotten to spend some time with because the K&B guys were doing Army of Darkness right before we shot Jason.
That was very cool. Now, that was our first actual film set that we'd ever been
Yes.
on. Or at least it was mine. We went to the Army of Darkness castle. And
he gave us the actual Book of the Dead to use in the film.
He was very cool.
He's so cool, such a sweet dude. And we just promised to get it back to him in perfect shape. But that is the actual Book of the Dead.
There was a lot of speculation about that Book of the Dead on it. There's this website called FridayThe13thFilms.com. This guy named Blake Washer runs that website, and he. I just remember there was a lot of discussion about the Book of the Dead and what significance that had with the series, and I posted that it had nothing to do with anything really. It just was kind of we were kind of happy to get the prop.
We've been very lucky with this film because we have some amazing fans. A lot of those kind of guys who have really responded to the picture and asked questions and want to know what's going on with the movie. And I think that's awesome. In fact, I remember the first signing we did at the Fangoria convention.
Was it Fango or was it the comic book
It was
convention?
the Fangoria was first, then the Comic Con.
Oh, yeah.
But the Fango convention that you and I went to, I remember there were several ladies who asked us to sign their breasts.
Yeah, that's right.
Which was really special.
Yeah, that was,
It's very nice.
being a geeky 23-year-old, that was kind of...
Yeah, the problem is we were both with our fiancés.
Yeah, that was
That was a
troubling.
little nerve-wracking.
That was troubling. And I remember, in particular, one woman who had an enormous amount of cleavage had a severed hand stuck in her cleavage.
And wanted her breast signed.
Yeah.
And actually, I think there was a vampiress who wanted me to join her vampire cult. It was funny. I remember in a lot of interviews that we did at the time, we were talking about how Dean and I were fans, and this was going to be a Friday the 13th picture made by fans for the fans. And actually, it's really a Friday the 13th picture made by geeks, I think, for the fans. Hopefully, fans, at least now, will know that we were trying to do something that was respectful to them. We weren't trying to take away their icon. We were trying to make the icon more of a legend. And fans were split. I mean, we had a lot of fans who appreciated, yeah, you took it in a new direction, and that's awesome. And we also had a lot of fans who were like, you know what? We want our wrestling picture to be a wrestling picture.
Yeah, we would have been
Jason.
much happier just with Camp Crystal Lake and teenagers and killing.
Quite honestly, at that point, there were 8 movies you could see on video that did that, and our feeling was, we're not going to do that again. Let's find something new. Let's find something to play, to play differently here. I think we did it. Again, there's that great throat bulging effect that K&B did with these air bladders under this throat makeup they had made, and it's just terrific. And here comes the first melting man. This is when we first get to see what happens to the bodies after Jason, is finished with them.
Leaves them, yeah.
And the first 2 melts here are Andy in the makeup. He's actually in the makeup. And then the third one is a guy from the effects crew who weighed about $105 in the rest of the Melty Man makeup, so it would look like he was actually melting away.
Jeez, Andy was such a trooper. Look at all the stuff this guy did in this movie.
I had 2 saddlebags, one full of pus and one full of blood, to splash on the set as we were shooting this scene.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, you gotta love the jaw nailed to the floor. That was also a shot that was cut from the edited version.
Oh, really?
They wouldn't let us have that. No. But this is just really disgusting. The film is disgusting. It really is. Bravo to us. I think we did just a lovely job with all this pus. This scene was actually supposed to be a nude scene, and Carrie felt kind of uncomfortable about shooting the nude scene. And in fact, to make sure that we didn't shoot her naked, she did a very funny thing. She wore Dixie cups over her breasts, so we could not get lower than the Dixie cups.
Well, that would put a stop.
That kind of stopped us there. And I don't know what we were thinking. We were thinking, is this sexy? And she's crying. I mean, she's crying about her dead mother.
Well, I think what we thought was it was an actual scene.
Yes.
But that there was this quota of nudity.
So we're like, you know what? Let's get the breasts and the sadness at the same time.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of good thought that went into it.
No, it really wasn't. That just didn't work. And now we're going to cut into one of the first scenes that was shot in the entire film, which is right here. This is like day 1.
Yeah.
And her walking through the dark house.
I remember on day 1, didn't you have a pretty aggressive shot list? You had a lot of shots.
I had like 32 shots.
You had a ton of
for the
shots
first day.
laid
32
out in the
setups,
first day.
I think. I mean, there was more shots.
Yeah.
And
I remember somewhere about midway through that day, you're like, fuck this. I'm not doing half of these shots.
It was just, suddenly I realized what filmmaking actually
because we'd
is.
never done this before. Never.
No. But, interestingly, we got everything we
did a good job
needed.
on this, considering, it's like, this was new to us.
It's really new. And it was funny because when we were casting the film, when we were crewing up for the film, I had a full beard. And the day we shot, I had shaved the beard off. And I remember Bill Dill, the cinematographer, coming up to me. And Bill's a young man, but he was older than I was, and he had had a lot of tremendous experience with Robert Townsend on the 5 Heartbeats and some other things. And he looked at me and said, "How fucking young are you?" Because nobody really knew at that point. And it was 100 people all working on this picture, and they were, supposed to follow some dumb 23-year-old kid. 22 when we started. We started writing, Dean was 23, I was 22.
We were just happy to be able to go to a bar, much less, make a movie.
This is actually the very first scene we shot.
Right.
This was the scene in the garage.
Scared the hell out of me. Where have you been?
And here comes our hero. Save the day. He's going to burst right in. Oh, da-da-da-da. Here, the glasses come off right about now. There's the glasses. They're gone.
Wow, my God. Oh, you're right. It is like Superman.
He is the hero, isn't
Wow.
he? Suddenly, he's about 47% sexier.
Yeah, now I see your grand
do you see my
scheme
logic?
for... Yes.
What is going on? Will somebody tell me? Shut up!
Him running over this body several times was really overkill, but absolutely a good time.
Oh my God!
And in fact, the stunt driver that we used here was one of the top stunt people for the Lethal Weapon films. We had a great stunt guy here to do a lot of this work. I love this. The
dummy?
The dummy kept
the
moving
kind of
on the
obvious
shots. Every time we'd run it over, it would like trail with the car and would run out of the shot. It would literally leave the shot.
Yeah, how did you get the car over that dummy?
We actually placed the car on the dummy and let it slide off.
Oh, okay.
Eventually, because it just kept pushing the dummy away.
Are you out of your mind?
Calm down. Just shut the fuck up, please. Just listen.
All right. Now, you think I killed Robert back there, right? And there's no way he could have lived, right? I just ran the fucker over,
Steven,
right?
Steven,
Just tell
Steven.
me, did I kill him or not?
Yes, you killed him.
Wrong. He is not dead, and that is not Robert. Jess, I did not.
God, we should have killed a few more people. We really should have. A little more blood would have really gone a long way here. But also, you know, there were scenes that were shot like the Michelle Clooney getting split up the middle.
Yeah.
We always knew that would become a sacrificial lamb. We knew we couldn't get away with it.
It's hard to argue for a scene like that. You're not really standing on any real solid ethical ground by saying we must have this scene.
Let's go get the baby.
Fucking psycho, you killer mother! You think I'd let you near my baby? Ow! Ow! Wait for me! Come on! Get away from me! Get away from me! Get away! Give it down! I just let Steven out of Lake Road! He killed Robert!
There I am.
That's right. Yeah, that's
me.
you. Yeah, in the
Officer
background.
Bish.
The
That's
one
me.
who's not a woman.
Yes. Well, thank you for that. I like those sideburns. Look at
Yeah,
that. I
I
got
like
like
it
a whole kind of Elvis-y thing going on. It's terrific. I
Boy.
remember Sean originally when I said I was going to play this part. Sean was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, you look like a cop." This is a fun scene. Actually, this scene was shot 3 times, I think. We shoot this 3 times?
This scene was endless.
It was endless. And in fact, it's funny because this was the scene that we shot for my director's test for New Line.
That's right, yeah.
And it was a great scene. It worked perfectly. And for some reason, when we went to shoot it, it just took forever to shoot the scene to get it work.
I think we just ended up, we kept having to go back and get more pieces of it.
Yeah.
Wasn't that what it was?
Yep. And certain fight elements weren't working. And I remember the car almost went off the edge of a ravine at one point. And I mean, it was just a lot of mess.
You okay?
We saw Hard Boiled with John Woo. John Woo was showing Hard Boiled a week before my original director's test, and I was at the screening, and that whole gun-on-gun thing, that whole sort of drawing on each other came out of that. But we hired a couple of terrific actors to do this scene with us, and the entire crew that we had already hired, we had already been hiring a crew before I'd even been approved as director. The entire crew came on the shoot for free. They all did this for free.
To do the directing.
To do the directing test. And I gotta say, I mean, to start the show with that kind of commitment from people was already such a sign of things to come. And Sean brought Dean and I to a post house, and we spent the entire weekend posting the scene. And it was delivered on Monday morning to Bob Shea. And Monday, I think about 3 p.m., there was a call that I was approved as director, and I got the job. And it was as awesome a feeling as you could possibly have. And there I am. I'm going to stop the evil.
Hey,
of course,
hey.
I'm doing my own stunts here. Oh, goodness. I had to shoot that 7 times because the DP kept missing me.
Oh, I remember you.
They all thought it was pretty funny.
This shot right here, you were very excited about this. This was the split diopter.
Oh,
I remember,
yeah.
Jesus
Oh.
God, you were going on and on about this. It's a split diopter, and on one, you keep one side in focus, and on the other side, it's a different focus
Well,
plane.
it was my De Palma shot, and I had been working for De Palma in New York for a while.
The movie should have been called Split Diopter.
Split Diopter.
For as much
Jason
excitement
goes
as you
to
had
Split
over,
Diopter.
over that shot.
Oh, okay. Here's the rubber band, handcuffs.
Actually, I like this moment. I think
It's a fun sequence. Whoa!
That
There
actually,
they go.
you know, even though it's impossible, it kind of was sold.
Actually, I remember when we shot this, John was shooting directly at the camera, and I remember feeling
that's cool.
my head reverberate as he would shoot that gun. It was so loud in that hallway. And here comes Mark and Brian, the radio personalities.
That's right. They did the premiere for this
movie. They did the premiere for the movie. They did all this stuff for us. They were great. And they're so funny in this moment, these two lame cops. And they were so excited about getting their heads bashed together. This was like, all they wanted to do was keep the makeup.
This
Can we
really
keep
is.
the makeup?
What police station is this? You got these guys as cops, you as a cop, your brother is a cop. This is the game that can't shoot straight police station.
These guys.
Sure, they could join you as cops.
so now they're going to get to shoot the scene with the director in the film, and they actually broadcast over the air from the K&B studios as the makeup was being made. So that, I mean, we were on Mark and Brian, I think 7 times.
Yeah, it was actually a good promotion for the movie.
Oh, it was great, and they ended up doing the premiere of the film
they held it
at the Man Chinese Theater.
Yeah.
Which was great. They brought a giant Bob's Big Boy with a Jason mask on it, and David Hasselhoff was there. It was star-studded. It was really, really extraordinary.
Fucking ray of sunshine.
During the scene where the two of them get their heads smashed together, we all had to wear tarps over us, these plastic tarps, for the blood to catch. We shot this great death, and their heads explode. My brother, in that sequence, is knocked out, and he's on the floor in the background. Well, no one had called Kip to set before we shot the shot. We had to reshoot the whole thing. The cleanup was about an hour of scrubbing blood off of walls because my brother's unconscious body was not in the background. And I went ballistic. It's the only time in the entire shoot that I actually yelled. And it was great because Brian turned to me and said, "Wow, is this like a real Hollywood director hissy fit?" He was so excited, and I was like, wow, you guys had to come on the one day that, like, something this stupid happens.
What the fucking felon? Oh, hey now, baby, what?
We had a lot of fun shooting this next sequence, and again, this is another effect that got cut from the theatrical release of the film. Less over the top than some of the other things in the movie, but it's upsetting. It is an upsetting effect. And we did have to cut a lot of that for the theatrical. By not showing the face of fear, it makes it scary.
You kind of, got a little desensitized towards some of the goriness in the movie just because there was so much goriness.
Yeah.
And so in a way, I actually thought the R-rated cut
is more frightening.
Although there are some things in it that I think are maybe a little bit more confusing just because, you lost a couple of story points that aren't clear. Like, for instance, that little nasty thing that curls up Aaron Gray. I think you don't see that very clearly in the R-rated cut, and it is kind of a plot point.
The girls were all fighting over the shotgun. All the women on set wanted to shoot the shotgun. They all wanted to have that shotgun.
Right.
And Allison won that fight. She really wanted that shotgun.
No!
Now, Allison's death is coming up in a couple seconds, and in fact, this was kind of an amazing moment, acting-wise, for her, because several months prior to this, she had an accident and had hurt herself so badly that she almost died. Also.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, and when she did this sequence where she gets impaled and she almost dies, she was so freaked out she started to cry on set.
Oh, shit!
He was upset about this death?
He's upset about this. We put him in a vat of root beer, and he was not happy about it. I think he was kept under for... Wait a minute. Do you know, I've got that head. I've still got that head at my house.
What a
I've
great
actually got that head. So here comes this really fun moment for Allison, and at one point she was so honest in this moment that we stopped the shot. I thought she was actually in pain. That's a great moment when they rip off half his face. This is the shot that got a little intense, and
I like how his eyes are red there.
He's gonna squeeze her head, and her brains literally leap out the top of her head. Okay, and in fact, I remember the effect hit the ceiling and wouldn't come off the ceiling.
Oh man, who made this movie?
They're just... And I love that the body is just sort of like, I can't do it anymore.
Wow.
I'm gonna try to get some
Now,
help.
here's the T2 moment for Carrie Keegan. This is when she, now it's become personal. There goes the hair.
Yeah.
Now it's personal.
So that's kind of like
So that's
the
her Linda-
glasses on
Yes.
John LeMay.
This is her Linda Hamilton moment.
I see.
Jessica! Jessica, wait! Fuck!
So that's sort of the MTV Duran Duran shot here. This sort of
That's a
backlit.
good- that's a nice
It's
shot.
isn't it? That's
Sure,
a nice
why
shot.
not?
I have your baby. Come to the Voorhees house alone.
Christ.
This leads to Duke with the Sally Mae crotch rot speech, which never made it into the movie.
There was a monologue that was written
Yeah.
that was the Sally Mae rotten crotch scene that was about the backstory of why Duke has been chasing Jason.
Yes, and he went on really at great length talking about, I had, when I was a little fella, I was dating Sally Mae Jones, and we were on a lake, and Jason killed her, and he just
Jason comes up, kills his girl,
Yeah.
and drags her to the bottom of the lake, and since then, he's been trying to get Jason. Of course, it absolutely didn't work in the picture. And again, this dagger that he's had the entire film that, we keep referring to, that's the magic dagger.
It's not about the money anymore.
I think he throws the dagger to her while she's holding her child. Once again, no parents were involved
Yeah,
in making
that's
this movie. None whatsoever. We're like, hey, come on, throw the knife. It's just a baby.
That was probably an expensive shot for us.
That was, actually. I think that was the most expensive shot in the movie.
So now what is it? It because she's a Voorhees, it becomes a this
Yes,
deal?
yes. It's a magic dagger only in the hands of a Voorhees, because only by the hands of a Voorhees will a Voorhees die.
You will always be in danger until Jason is dead. He won't stop coming for you until he gets you, until he's reborn. And then he will kill you. And your baby. If you want this to be over, if you want your baby out of danger, then you will end it now. Before more people have to die like your friends, like your mother. Because until you kill him, it will never be over.
Of course, this is our sort of who is it? Who's walking through the diner? The
That's right. We don't know at
POV,
this
and
point. It could be
anybody.
Could be anybody.
Could be any sheriff, any cop, anybody in the cop
could
station.
be any radio personality, the director. Could be virtually anybody at this point.
So, because we're gonna have fun with sort of who's gonna end up being Jason in the next scene, and I dare you to guess.
You're daring me?
No, I dare.
I know who
I'm
did.
daring the audience.
Oh, all right, okay. A favorite thing Kane used to like to do on the set is he'd sit in his director's chair and he would sit just stock still, and he'd stay that way for a really long time until eventually someone unwary would sort of walk up next to him and would kind of look at him because it would almost look as if it was a dummy.
Yeah, he was one of the
sitting there.
mock cats.
Yeah, and he would just sit there and then suddenly he'd go, "Bah!" and then he did this endlessly, and
It was always scary.
it was always
worked.
scary. He's a scary guy. He's a big guy. Now, do you remember this? We initially didn't shoot any of this stuff down in the basement.
He was just talking. He was just talking up from the
That
basement.
was a reshoot much later. So basically what happened was we had this lead character fall out of frame
and disappear for an entire scene.
And there was an entire scene that involved her just calling into blackness, and we just heard him shouting up to her.
Now, here's the only problem with this sequence. Up until now, Jason has never spoken a word because Jason doesn't speak.
Right.
And of course, we broke our own rule by having both actors speak in this scene, so you don't know which one of them.
I remember we debated this a long time
For a
because
long
we just
time.
we didn't know how to do it otherwise.
And of course, she hasn't killed the right guy. She's killed the wrong guy. The knife is out of her hands, and now my brother sadly gets to menace this baby, which was so hard for him. It was just, and he's such a sweet guy. He's such a good person. This was very difficult. And actually, he's playing with the baby. He's making noises, and it was just not good.
He's not doing that, really, is he?
Yeah, he really is.
Oh no.
Kip actually threw his back out on this stunt.
Oh, yeah.
That's very nice.
Pretty good, actually.
I'm really responsible for that. Yeah, he did an incredible job with the physical stuff.
Yeah.
He was very good with it. And this is actually one of the best effects in the movie. I have this is also another head that I have in a box in my garage. So if people want to meet my brother, I have him right there.
Didn't this used to there was a whole other stage to this creature,
you bet.
wasn't
The
there?
creature, this was before.
Oh, jeez, that's a funny looking thing in that shot.
This was right now. The creature never fell into the basement. The creature comes back, and we had a guy who...
he was in a suit, right?
He was in a suit. He had no legs. The actor had no legs, and we put him into this suit with a big tail whipping around, and he crawled all over the set, and it was great. But, the Arctic Expedition, by the way, the Julia Carpenter box there is the crate from the movie Creepshow. But anyway, so we added all this stuff later, this really rather repulsive moment. Oh, God, we are just... You know what? This shouldn't be called Jason Goes to Hell. It should be called The Filmmakers Go to Hell.
That's horrible.
Under the dresser.
Go get it!
I don't think so.
You know, the thing that I think we strove for in this movie, and I hope we accomplished, I think we did, was we created heroes that actually went out on such a limb to save each other. There is sort of a cool sort of superhero myth with this movie. Kane is really almost method about his Jason, about the way he plays Jason. And he's got this whole thing, this whole routine about how his body moves when he plays Jason. And it's really quite different than the way he normally moves. His head constantly turns in the direction that he will eventually move his body in. So he'll turn his head, look in a direction, and then his whole body en masse moves in one movement towards the direction that his head is facing. And it's wild. If you watch the film, you'll see it several times. He's really proud of this physical vocabulary he's come up with for Jason. The other thing about Kane that's kind of remarkable, Kane in the mid-'80s, I believe it was in a terrible accident. He had a terrible accident where I think it's like 80-some% of his body was under third-degree burns. On the last day of the shoot, our cinematographer, Bill, his son, Elliot, was on set, and Kane started to strip off the makeup. And underneath the makeup, Kane is very, very badly burned. Well, Elliot became very frightened. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Kane picked up Elliot and showed him his skin and said, "It's okay, it's just like everybody else, it just looks a little different." And the little boy touched his skin and was not afraid anymore of it. It gave me a new respect for Kane. It made me just feel that he's kind of got a heart of gold. He choreographed a beautiful fight. We spent a long time working on the fight, months before the shoot. And he really did such a good job with this. He's really a terrific stunt coordinator as well as stuntman. And Kane's got a whole routine about being Jason.
Yeah, he goes on tour with this, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. It's live. It's sort of like Beatlemania. It's Jason Mania. 7 shows a week. But he's actually Kane's favorite thing on during the shoot was actually scaring Dean.
Yeah,
he was constantly trying to scare Dean. That was actually kind of his fun on the shoot. This is a great.
He was forever picking me up over his head. I was like, Kane, I gotta go I gotta go to the craft services table.
You gotta love these, like, Casey at the bat swings with the shovel there. But Kane was having so much fun just playing with this guy and throwing him around.
He was just so happy it was finally him in the movie. Up until that point, it had been
wow,
everybody else.
finally, I'm Jason again. I think this is the longest extended fight sequence that Jason's ever had with anybody, with one character. And again, we just beat the crap out of both these guys. They were such good sports about it. It was totally fun. John just keeps taking a beating here, man. He is just filthy by this point. We actually shot this scene on my 24th birthday. This was the night of my 24th birthday. We shot this.
Is he going to hell now?
I think it's close. He's just about to go to hell. But she only gets the magic dagger in halfway. That's the problem. So, now the magic evil spirits that we saw that entered the body, now they're all leaving. And I don't know where the magic spirits are going. They're going to, like, heaven or something. I don't know what's happening here. We just thought it was cool. There was no logic behind this.
No.
But we knew we were going to send Jason to hell, so here comes sort of this, the fun.
I remember wanting to actually go to hell. And we were told we couldn't do that.
No, there was, we actually did want a shot in hell.
Hell was apparently too expensive.
Yes, way too expensive.
Hell is costly. And
you can't have hell, boys.
what you can do is see people dragged into the dirt.
And now the heavenly spirits are invading Jason. He's not enjoying any of this. This is all bad. Okay, now all of these hands are people on the crew, makeup people, so on. You're going to see a hand grab John LeMay's crotch in a second. That's my hand. That's me. There I am grabbing John. Oh, poor John. We did this because we wanted sort of a furious action on it, and I knew how I wanted this thing to look, and so I was under the stage with these hands, so nobody knew where they were grabbing, and of course we grabbed John a little bit too hard during the sequence. Again, real trooper. And here's the rest of the crew popping up to pull Jason down. That's just about every effects person in the place joining in on dragging Jason to hell. And here's sort of the that's all, folks. Moment. And if you notice, take a look at this. You'll see a face in the lights as they split. You'll see Jason's face. Did you see that? It's a hockey mask in the way it splits up.
Yeah. Now, he's holding the baby here,
yes,
right?
He's holding the baby.
But I remember it being a big problem because we realized, you can't see
really
that he's
see
holding
that
the
he's
baby.
holding the baby.
So apparently, the last we saw the baby, it was like laying on the floor of the Voorhees house.
But we did.
And
put
it appears that they just.
There is a little sound of the baby.
That's right. That's how we.
And
That's
stuff.
how we dealt with it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Okay, now the dog Tango, the family dog, is going to come back again, and I swear to God, this was done in one take. This dog was so amazing. We put a piece of hot dog underneath the mask. So here comes Tango. He sniffs at the thing, and then he actually lifts the mask up a little bit so we can see it better.
Yeah.
And then his master called him off screen, and he ran off screen. And now we slowly close in, and this was a thought that Dean and I had when we were coming up with what we were going to do gag-wise in the picture. And we thought, you know what? It's New Line is making this movie. Let's get Freddy. Let's get Freddy in there. And so we get Freddy in there. So when you see Jason versus Freddy, please remember that it was a goof. That Dean and I were
we just
playing
thought that
with,
was
and
fun.
we thought it was fun. We thought it was, let's have, New Line's greatest serial killer meet New Line's next greatest serial killer. So we were very lucky because we had no right to be helming a movie at this point in our lives, and these people saved our butts.
The K&B guys were truly great. What was nice about this movie is it was really the first time that, at least in terms of writing, that you got to see good actors improve on dialogue,
Right.
Which was incredible to me. Like, it never occurred to me that like a good actor could actually like make something better. And then I would watch him and I'd be like, oh wow, that's pretty good.
I hope people know that we made it with our tongue firmly planted in our cheeks, and you know, we were trying to have a good time and also do something that was truly for the fans. This was, you know, we wanted people to walk away from this movie seeing a lot of in-jokes and a lot of stuff that they could enjoy, but we didn't want to mock the Jason legend, I guess. We really wanted to play into it and have fun with it.
No, we're big fans.
We are. Huge fans, actually. Sadly. And you know what? We were fans. We've been fans since we were kids. Dean and I both were real hard Gumps in college, and we knew all these movies, and we love these movies. And I got to work on the first one, for God's sakes. And it was great. You know, you're hanging out with, you know, seeing Kevin Bacon getting slaughtered, and, you know, I mean, all these...
Who at the time was not
Nobody.
really Kevin Bacon.
Yeah,
he was just this dude getting...
He was the guy in Animal House. He had that those couple scenes in Animal House.
Right.
And, you know, I hope that, you know, at 23, I hope that the work that I was able to do at that time, or that I aspired to do at that time, I hope it resonates with the audience. I hope that they, you know, I mean, we made this movie for the audience. This was not one of these movies that was just for ourselves. We wanted to give the audience the thrill ride. Sting.
Is there? Oh, the spooky Sting.
So that's Jason Goes to Hell.